Hey, what's up everybody? Today I have 3 pedals from the JHS 3 series, the rotary chorus, tape delay, and oil can delay. Now I think all the 3 series pedals are fantastic. They're well-built, well-designed pedals that do exactly what their name indicates. The consistent design means there's no learning curve, and most importantly, all the 3 series pedals sound so good. Josh and the team continue to make pro-quality pedals that are easy to use and fun to play, and these 3 absolutely hit that mark. Let's get into it. First up, we have the rotary chorus. Now it's inspired by one of the earliest modulation effects, the rotating speaker, specifically the Leslie rotating speaker that was originally designed to be used with Hammond organs. Now guitar players figured out how to integrate it into their rigs really quickly, and so it's a sound you've heard on countless recordings. Let's give it a listen. Okay, so I'll start with the rotary chorus bypassed. This is my PRS Modern Eagle into a Mesa Boogie California Tweed. So you can see that the speed and the intensity controls have a really wide range on them. It goes from very shallow to very deep, very slow to very fast. The volume control strictly is the overall output volume. This is halfway up is about unity gain. Okay, so the extra switch is the room switch. Now that's been in the off position, but what the room switch does is it adds a bit of room ambience, like if you were miking a rotating speaker. So think of it this way, since a Leslie has 2 rotating speakers, a horn and a woofer, the mics are only directly on the sound source for a second, right? Because the mic's here and the speaker's doing that. And so the rest of the time the mics are picking up the ambient and reflected sound, and they're also picking up the motion of the speaker and the fact that there are 2 different speakers moving at different rates. So as a whole, it's a complex sound source, and the room or space definitely factors into that. So the room switch adds that flavor, as well as like the sound of a distant mic in the room picking up the sound of the Leslie. So here's with the room switch off. And here it is with it on. Turn down the reverb on the amp so you can really hear exactly what it's doing. Okay, next up is the tape delay. Now, I gotta admit, this one was a bit of a surprise when I heard it, a good surprise. A lot of digital emulations of tape delay go for the gritty, warbly sound that degrades quickly with each repeat. And I mean, sure, analog tape delays can do that, and it is a unique sound, but remember, magnetic tape was state-of-the-art, high fidelity for a large portion of the history of recording. And Josh Scott of JHS is a history buff and a bit of a stickler for details. So reading from the owner's manual for the 3 Series tape delay, here's Josh's thoughts. Tape delay was invented in the late 1940s when Les Paul strung 2 Ampex Model 200A reel-to-reel tape recorders together. Now a little later in 1953, Ray Butts invented the Echosonic, the first actual tape delay unit. This would be followed up by the Echoplex EP1 in 1961 from Mike Battle and the Space Echo from Roland in 1974. The JHS Pedals 3 Series tape delay is a simplified and faithful throwback to these classic units. Okay, let's check it out. So a couple things to note on this. On the mix control, it will go completely dry. To completely wet. The tape speed control is a simulation of the Roland RE201's tape motor speeding up and slowing down, so a nice nod there. And the repeats, okay, so they like gently degrade, like the sound being printed onto a tape loop with a subtle loss of fidelity each time. So you'll notice it does not simulate self-oscillation. So if you turn the repeats all the way up, it will just continue repeating like for a long time. The extra switch, the Flutter switch, now it adds the sound of wear and aging of tape and mechanical parts. So it's a little more random than a modulation effect and intensifies slightly with each repeat, like the inconsistencies of a tape machine with some wear on it. Now that kind of gets back to that, sound I was talking about earlier, the gritty sort of, dirty sound. It's not really that. It's not extreme at all. It's pretty subtle, but it definitely works. Let's hear what Flutter does in isolation. I'm just going to hit a note and then I'll do it without Flutter, and then I'll turn the Flutter on. So there it was in extreme isolation. Now I'm going to do it a little more in context, so I'll play a lick with Flutter off and then Flutter on. Last is the oil can delay. Now this one has a unique history. Thanks to a lot of famous early recordings using tape delay, it became a very popular effect. But even the portable tape delay units were kind of bulky and you had to be careful moving them around. I mean, they were multi-head tape machines. So with the idea of making a delay unit that was smaller and more reliable, in 1959, a guy named Ray LeBeau, who owned Telray Electronics with his brother Marv, submitted a patent for an electrostatic delay unit. It's a pretty ingenious idea, basically a drum about the size of a tuna can turned by a belt, creating the delay effect, and the audio signal's electronic charge was written onto a disc and read through rubber wipers. Now the speed of the drum dictated the delay time, and the oil was a protective layer to keep the audio signal's charge electrons stable. So the sound of a drum in a tin can spinning in oil is definitely going to have its own unique flavor. So you can hear, like, compared to the tape delay, especially the repeats are darker. And I want to talk about the mod switch. So imagine the drum spinning in oil, so there's the possibility of inconsistencies in the pattern of the drum's motion, and so that would result in like a signal modulation, a very unique signal modulation, in fact. And so we'll listen to it again without mod and then with mod. And here's with. All three of these pedals are true bypass, which is one of the reasons I have a Keeley Noble Screamer at the front of the signal chain as a signal buffer. Plus, it just sounds good. Thanks for checking out the JHS 3 Series Rotary Chorus, tape delay, and oil can delay with me. If you have any questions, make sure to contact your Sweetwater sales engineer or check us out at sweetwater.com. Thanks.